This is a good program here
Have all these people talking about what it was like to nearly die
pertaining to this
in this
interview
raging fire,
of
and
the things
yet
that's going on here in America pertaining to global crisis, pertaining to environmental changes. So please listen if you don't mind.
you also have them coming back, or at least a certain number of people coming back wanting to rebuild. I'm going to play a little clip to illustrate that.
Town of Paradise permit to build my home at 1552 Forest Service Road. I'm Jazz. Awesome, man. Awesome. That's it. Yeah.
Good, buddy.
We're on now. This is the beginning.
Excited.
Harrison finally caught up with me. Wow. Yeah, it's a big deal.
It is a big
Yeah,
deal.
it's a big deal.
Very big.
New beginning.
So it's obviously really emotional. They've had a near-death experience, but it's also that American thing that makes people want to rebuild, to stay, and the eternal optimism. What struck you the most about the people there?
Of course, I knew the people well, or not personally, but a sense of who they were. Yes, they are these kind of rugged individualists. That's that brand of thinking. That is that kind of Americanism there. So it was particularly devastating, of course, when their entire world is ripped out from under them. The definition of what a productive day is completely changes, and they're people full of pride, as are most people most places. I think it does beg the question, and I think for them in many instances raise the question, what should we really expect from our government? What should we expect from government agencies? What kind of help is there for us? There was a sense from people who had been on the fire safety committees and so forth that they had done some of what they could do to try to prevent this kind of catastrophe, but not all they could do. Right. They couldn't get all of the ordinances through and so forth. And so there was also a sense of regret for many people that only intensified sort of the PTSD they were all experiencing.
It raises this question about what should we expect from our government. Many people, the majority of the world actually, who believes in the cataclysmic advance of climate change, believe the government should be doing a lot more all over the world, but particularly in the United States. You seem to have shied away or deliberately stayed away in this film from making climate change political points. You do have a tiny little clip of President Trump, who was there, confused the name Paradise, called it Pleasure. So you put that in, but you studiously stay away, don't you, from the climate change aspect of it?
Well, I didn't view it as a polemic. To me, it was a sort of a case study in what does it mean afterward. Let's not politicize why it happened. That's not really for this film. I was interested because many people in the town believe different things. Not what it was about to me. It's certainly a factor, and the science says it and we say it, but so is forest management, which we also spend some time talking about as well. In this case, PG&E caused it. They were culpable. They admitted it. In other instances, the horrible fires now are caused by, either fireworks and lightning strikes and other things. So the point is, these catastrophes are happening all around the world. And what does it mean to individuals? I was trying to build a sort of a pathway to some empathy for audiences who hadn't really thought about it before.
So to that end, and you are a filmmaker, let's not forget, you sort of have a little bit of a happy ending solution to this documentary. We showed the gentleman who was getting the permit to rebuild his house, but also you go to a school, you see a new group of graduates. Let's just play this clip.
The fact that we are here tonight to celebrate this milestone is a miracle. survived one of the most destructive wildfires in our nation's history. It left us a different people. You are the first generation of Paradise High School graduates to rise from the ashes of what life was and take a bold step forward into a new and uncertain future. But with what you've been through, you have what it takes to persevere. Congratulations and good luck.
Well, it's, I guess, your traditional commencement fare, inspiring and invigorating. But he also says, an uncertain future. You've been through such a unique experience. Right now, we're seeing the biggest fire in California history raging. It's been raging since the beginning of September. Most of the most deadly fires have happened in California in the last decade. What do the people who you profiled say about their future? Not just those graduates, but have people seen the film?
Yes, they have. They have seen the film, and the response has been very positive. I think they felt the process of participating in the film, and I'm grateful in seeing the film to be cathartic and representative. Look, the town is much smaller than it was. It's going to be a long time before it's 26,000 people again. I think it's maybe 4,000 now. Coronavirus has not been particularly devastating for them, but of course it's a huge factor. And they were packing their things to get out of there 10 days or 2 weeks ago when one of the fires once again threatened the area. It turned and spared them this time. There's a lot of uncertainty. Some of the people that we followed, made it pretty clear they weren't going to stay. I found a couple of things that were interesting to me. The people who did want to stay and were committed, they were the ones that kept showing up at the functions. Whether it was a town meeting, whether it was the community memorial service or the Christmas tree lighting ceremony or their parade at Gold Nugget Day, commemorating the history of their town founding and so forth. Those people who kept showing up also became the problem solvers in many ways. The ones who did have a shared vision of what they wanted. They weren't always politically on the same wavelength, but they did put that aside and they kind of beat City Hall. I mean, they managed to find solutions, and it was often a struggle. And I felt like in a lot of ways they were showing us what problem solving can look like. When people, decide to come together in the middle and make something happen, something that they believe in. So I do think there's a note of optimism in that, because those people are achieving, kind of what their new dream is.
I think
I want to back up real quick in what they're talking about, because in my experiences towards going around being a storm chaser, and whenever I say a storm chaser, I'm not talking about somebody out here documenting tornadoes. I'm talking about somebody that comes in to an area after that it has been devastated by either a tornado or a hurricane or whatever. What I have found is that it separates the men from the boys. It separates the girls from the ladies. It separates those who are basically just there taking up space versus those who want to roll up their sleeves and get their hands dirty and start all over again towards rebuilding. And you'll find these apparels that will be just as much one way as it will the other towards those that are willing to raise their hands and give up versus those who want to, it like puts a fighting spirit into them to the point that there's no way that I'm going to give up. There's no way that I'm going to run from this. There's no way that I'm going to abandon ship in regards to this. A lot of people thought that I was coming back here on some sort of a mudslinging contest because the mud was being slung on me, pertaining to various families that was agitating and aggravating and attacking us while my brother was still living. And whenever you get in a middle of a scenario like this, you really don't know how to defend yourself, especially whenever you don't have the courts in behind you to defend you for you, to put an end to that type of maliciousness that was going on. And I knew what that they was wanting to do. They was wanting to draw me down to their level, to the point that we basically went outside across the road here, in the middle of the road, and duked it out, went into I call it a pissing contest to see who could piss the furthest or the longest. I knew what was going on. But at the time, my hands was tied because I could not depend upon the judicial system, the court system in this area to defend my brother and I. And it was really, really sad because, like I said, I didn't come back to judge or condemn. That's God's doings. That ain't mine. God's going to be the one that's going to judge all of us, including myself. God's going to be the one that's going to condemn us, including myself, if he does condemn us, for providing based upon our sincerity and our works. But to be attacked, in knowing that I had come back to this area and being attacked, knowing that I had come back to help these people, was that much more appalling of the reason why that I was being attacked. Once more, you don't go to an agency and spend money to put signs on your building in regards to either the Windmill Ministries or Recovery Shelter or dedicating various things to our United States military. You don't do these things just for the heck of it. You do them because this is what you are. This is what you believe in. This is who you believe in, which is the Lord Jesus Christ of Nazareth. These whole people around here was so deceived that even Tommy Moore, the judge up in the Dresden courthouse, was basically falsely accusing me and saying that I was of the devil versus of trying to represent the Lord Jesus Christ. I had never run into a wall of so much adversity until I come back here in 2014. These people was out for blood. They wanted to destroy the ministry. They didn't want the ministry to be fulfilling. They didn't want the person that was chosen by God to have any type of positive effect, not only in this neighborhood, but throughout society. This was the onslaught that I had to deal with in the middle of burying a brother at the age of 51, that I was falsely accused of taking his life, knowing that I didn't. And knowing that other people know that I didn't. I had never run into anything as bone-chilling, as blood-curdling, as hair-raising as what I did whenever I come back to 291 Thompson Road, Sharon, Tennessee, zip code 38255. All hell busted loose in not just my life, but in my brother's life. And the thing about it was, this hell that I'm talking about had already pre-existed way before Juby ever come back in 2014. And Tommy Moore knew it. The sheriff's office and the court system knew it. But we was still being treated like second and third class citizens while they was uplifting their drug dealers and their drug takers. While I was being evicted from various churches simply because of the way that I felt and how I believed, similar towards what went on out in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma with the People's Church. They was holding my feet to the fire simply because I had an opinion about the Oklahoma bombing. How much longer is this going to originate before people understand the trickery and the tactics of Satan, which is out to kill, steal, and destroy, which is the author of confusion. How much longer are we going to continue to suffer as a nation, as a body, as a community, until people wake up? That's the $64,000 question that I still ask. That is a travesty, to say the least, pertaining to it being appalling.
New dream is.
I think, I mean, to me, it sounds like you're describing community, the notion of community. And certainly that has taken a battering in the United States, in many other parts of the world as well, but certainly in the United States. COVID, we're now past 200,000 deaths, the biggest death toll in the world. And I know, I believe your wife and maybe your daughter as well contracted COVID during the height of the virus. You were in lockdown, but in proximity. I was touched by the fact that you stayed close to your wife, and you described, once she started to get better, you taking socially distanced strolls that you described as sort of Victorian era courtship strolls. What